Hello and welcome to the Confusion Wrestling Podcast, the last bastion of independent wrestling. I'm your host, Rob Kammer, and in my arms is my co-host, Affogato. Sometimes she's a cat, sometimes she's a people, sometimes she's just wanting to rub her face on the microphone, so I have to do mean things like give her scritches on the chin and listen to the birds. Speaking of the birds, this week's episode is very bird heavy. I apologize. I decided that, that I was going to enjoy the warm weather that's turning slowly into very hot weather, but nonetheless, so it's going to sound kind of unprofessional in the background, but it's birds, it's nature, we all need to go touch grass, so, I figure it'll work for everyone. But, someone who doesn't need to touch grass is this week's guest. He is the most interesting wrestler in the world. He is Gunjack, and obviously, if that's the case, that being the most interesting, well, I guess even being the most interesting wrestler in the world, you might need to touch grass every now and then. But anyway, the important thing is we figure out how you become the most interesting wrestler in the world, amongst other little anecdotes from throughout his brief career in the realm of professional wrestling. So he is a figure of the SoCal wrestling scene, and we're going to try to get him an audience throughout the rest of the country, and dare I say, even the world. So let's go ahead and just take a pause for the cause so we can get right to it. Get yourself an energy drink, get yourself a cup of coffee, get yourself a whole gosh darn coffee maker, and we'll be back with Gunjack. Hey folks, the Confusion Wrestling Podcast has become a veritable hub of shopping and treats and all that sort of good stuff. Whether you need a sugar-free alternative to energy drinks in the form of Raise Energy, or maybe even, top-of-the-line ice makers, coffee machines, and other household appliances, all through my links section. All you got to do is wander down to the descriptor of this week's episode, check out the various links, click on them, and go shopping like you normally would. Heck, it's no difference. You just came in and just said Rob sent you. And that way, you can get the things you need, maybe even at a discount, and the podcast gets a kickback as well. So be sure to check out those links. Thank you very much for listening. Back to the show. All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Confusion Wrestling Podcast. As I said at the top of the show, very special guest sitting in the studio with me tonight. He is the life of parties that he's never attended. He lives vicariously through himself. And of course, most importantly, he is the most interesting wrestler in the world. He is Gunjack. Gunjack, sir, how are you doing this evening?
Doing very well. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm not doing too bad myself. The weather is beautiful, and things are running along according to plan for once, so I can't complain.
Sounds good. Yeah.
But I like to start the party off, which I'll have plenty of other questions, but I always do like to start the party off with the always original, never before asked question in the realm of wrestling podcasting. What made you a fan of professional wrestling? What got you into the sport?
Well, as I'm sure everyone said the same thing, it's always a certain match. So, actually, my first match was the first wrestling event I ever saw was King of the Ring '98. So 'cause I had a neighbor when I was a kid, and he would watch wrestling. And then back in that time, the pay-per-views you had to pay for them, but they had a little box where you would just flip a switch and you'd get the pay-per-view channels, like a little pirate box. And so he invited me over to go watch the King of the Ring. And he said it was like a big wrestling show. So I went, and the match that actually got me to start watching wrestling was, the infamous Hell in a Cell match, Undertaker versus Mankind. So then from there, I just started watching wrestling, and then that's where the spark started.
So that being your first experience with wrestling, what walk me through that. What was that like? Being not being familiar with the sport, and then one of your first experiences is Mick Foley, Mankind, being tossed from the cell directly, and then also being put through the ceiling of the cell as well.
I don't remember the specific thoughts or thinking that I was good, just because it was so long ago. But I didn't have that preconceived notion that a lot of people, wrestling's fake or this and that, what have you. I didn't know anything about it. And then I just went and I saw it, and it's just, I don't know, just the big cage, him getting tossed off, him going through the cage. It was just and then the characters, Undertaker and Mankind and the various other, matches throughout the show. Um, I don't know, it just captivated me. So I don't remember specifics because it was so long ago.
That's fair. Just it's
Mhm.
one of those like little things where I go like, "That's your first experience," and that was a pretty big effing deal,
Oh
like
yeah.
compared to
Yep.
like I point out last week's guest, his first experience wrestling was Macho Man Randy Savage being bitten by Jake the Snake's Python on whatever like random like superstars, and like he'd not watched wrestling
Hmm.
before that, and then now this dude's being bitten by a snake, and his mind is blown about that. But you did reference the characters of say like Mankind and the Undertaker. So you know, did you continue to be fans of those guys, or did you kind of like expand your horizons like once you finally sat down and started watching wrestling as a whole?
And no, I mean, I liked everyone. I mean, I had my favorites, but I mean, I kind of liked them all because back then in the Attitude Era, everyone, was a character. Even their names reflected that. They had like, like Mankind, Undertaker. They didn't have a first and last name. A few of the guys did, but I mean, obviously my favorites were The Rock and Stone Cold, as a lot of people say.
That's fair, and like I think that's kind of one of like the unheralded parts of the Attitude Era is just that everybody had a character, like like a
Hmm.
concrete character, and then two, like everybody had something to do as well. Like very
Hmm.
few people were like truly just floating doing nothing. Everybody had like however insipid or poorly aged the storyline went, like everybody was kind of doing something,
Oh
and
yeah.
like we're not seeing that, at least in terms of, we'll call it the big two wrestling companies. We're not really seeing those anymore. There's a lot of people who are just kind of, I wear tights and I fight. That's what we do. Um,
And I do big
but
flashy moves, which
yeah,
nothing wrong with that, but that's
no, no, that's the and I'll throw that out. Anytime I throw shade at like wrestling or wrestling characters, I will also note that wrestling is the greatest circus known to man, because if you don't like the trapeze artists, you can watch the strongmen. If you don't like the strongmen, you can watch the clowns. If you
Yep,
don't like the clowns, insert, any other circus metaphor you want in there. So,
exactly. Hmm.
that is like one of my things. That's like one of my little hills that like I die on those, that wrestling requires characters. And obviously, I think I'm preaching to the choir on that one.
A little bit.
But with that in mind, like what made you cross the barrier, so to speak? What made you decide to get into the sport and get trained?
Well, I just got into it recently. I've been in the business for the past 3 years now, almost 3 years, something like that. Um, I just never had the opportunity to. Back where I used to live, there wasn't any wrestling. The internet was kind of in its infancy when I was young, so it was very hard to find schools or just places to train. I always wanted to do that. I didn't know how, but that was one of the dreams as a youth. Um, but it wasn't until recently that it just popped into my head because I moved to San Diego a few years ago, and it just popped into my head. So I just started looking for schools, and I found one, and the last 3 years it's just been wrestling for me.
It's one of those better late than evers, and we always kind of think
Oh
of,
yeah. Hmm.
we always think of like wrestlers starting out young, and like especially the Japanese system, we got the young boys or whatever. But you have dudes like DDP who, for all functional purposes, made his pro debut at the age of 35. We'll just ignore that he was trained like 10 years prior, and was kind
Yeah.
of run
Yeah.
out of the business. But he never really got, he never got matches or anything that he didn't pay
Hmm.
for himself until like the age of 35. And
Hmm.
I think that's kind of, we're also seeing some of these things now. I mean, I think thanks to the internet is, and now that as people are kind of like getting, I don't know, more stabilized in their life and have the opportunity to go do these things, it's better to regret something you've done than something you've never tried. And otherwise you can get to be old and bitter like me and have to sit behind a microphone and live vicariously through all the people I bring on this here program, because I'm old and
Yeah.
out of
Yeah. Sure.
shape.
Hey, well, the thing about wrestling, I'm. You say you're old and out of shape. Um, there's spots for even people like what you just described yourself as. That's the beauty of wrestling. I mean, sure,
Oh,
you at the end of the day you will have to take some bumps. If you can't take a bump, then maybe there's a manager spot for you, a valet. There's always little spots. You don't have to be in the ring to be part of wrestling, which is why I like this.
Oh, of course, and I am half joking because obviously I kind of consider myself doing a service by having a podcast, and at least the way I have my podcast setting up of not talking about the big leagues, and all my listeners already like know my soapbox about the importance of independent wrestling. So like I'm saying certain things in jest, if nothing else, and I hang around,
Hmm.
folks. It's cool. I am just not. I am just not a trained professional wrestler. Is all.
Hmm.
But digressing, this is not about me. I have a whole podcast I can just make next week's episode about me humble bragging or whatever. But we want to talk about you, so I do have to ask, since we've touched on it already. You've become a wrestler, and now you're the most interesting wrestler in the world. So how does one earn that moniker, especially for someone who's only 3 years into the business? I feel like that's usually something you kind of have to earn. I don't know, once you get your grizzled veteran stripes.
Well, I'll put it this way: my legacy in the wrestling business it's already been etched in stone. I'm just here to see it through now.
And I noticed, right away. And for those of you who aren't seeing the reels, and of course this podcast is 99% audio only, uh, you have yourself a tag team championship quasi hidden in the background. One Ring Circus, if I'm not mistaken, that's the
That's
championship
right.
belt.
Yeah, my two prized possessions here: my one of one signature top hat and my tag team championship. And that is correct, from One Ring Circus. It's a promotion down in San Diego.
I try to do a little bit of research,
Mm.
but I have noticed like you've become, well, I don't know, we'll flat out just say like a tag team specialist as well, because you have at least two tag teams going. This what the Straight Edge and the Iron Horse Consortium.
Yeah, it's you know what's funny is I mean, I still do my singles thing, every once in a while, different promotions, and that was the vision. I just wanted to be singles. The beginning of this year, I was in three different tag teams at the same time. Now I'm only currently in two. One of them didn't work out, but yeah. So the tag team champions down in One Ring Circus were the Iron Horse Consortium, and then I wrestled on another promotion. It's still in the San Diego area, a little further north in Vista. I wrestle with SoCal Pro Wrestling, and there my tag team is the Straight Edge Order with a different partner.
I have to ask, since you have like the two concurrent tag teams, like how does that affect your in-ring work or how you approach any specific match? Because every partnership kind of has different dynamics or kind of a different styling to it. How do you bounce back fluently between one and the other?
Well, the three of us, me, myself, and both my partners, we've actually been in a team in a 6 man. We've been in a 6 man tag matches. I think twice in the past. So we have that chemistry. But it's I mean it's not much of a difference just because we're all kind of similar in our styles. So there's not much. And like for the Iron Horse Consortium, I keep my steampunk look. It's because my partner, he's got a Victorian look as well. So nothing really changes here. With the my other partner, the Straight Edge Order, I still keep shades of the steampunk, but it's just a little bit different, so we can mend both of our styles. And then wrestling wise, we're like I said, we're both teams. We have the same uh, wrestling style. So
And I did notice that in what I call my research, aka watching entirely too much wrestling, is that you are, I dare I say, one of the rare wrestlers that actually kind of change up their attire based on their tag team. And there not a lot of at least comparatively speaking, not a lot of tag teams are rocking matching looks, or or very similar attires. So one was really refreshing, and then seeing how you bounce back and forth, even just stylistically speaking, appearance wise, I felt was one kind of old school, but two also very refreshing to see.
yeah, thank you. Well, I mean, you have to. You can't just have the same look, and I mean, I guess you can, but I'm kind of old school. So if you're gonna be in two different teams, or I haven't done this where I go to a different promotion and have a different look because it's still me at the end of the day. But like I said, the other one that's not heavy on the steampunk still has the steampunk trait. I still have the goggles, but they're wrapped around my neck. I don't come out with the hat, but there's still, similarities between the two.
Oh, we're still getting Gunjack, no matter whether
Oh,
he's
of course,
an
yeah.
Iron Horse or if he's straight edge. Which I mean, obviously, it's still it's still Gunjack at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
But like that's like this is my old man yelling at clouds kind of opinion. Is I hate watching teams that look blatantly thrown together and then they're like, oh, we gel, so we're a team now and we have a real team name, but we're still just wearing just kind of whatever and it doesn't even match. Like I'm looking at you, A Town down now, A Town down under when you were a thing. Like you have a team name, at least dress similar or have like the same style of tights or something. I don't know, but
Mm-hmm.
that's just me being old and
Similar but
complaining.
different. That's my thing. I don't want to come out looking identical, but look similar but different. Because every we each have our own style. So as long as we look like a team, but we still individually have that flair that makes us ourselves. I think that's the best look.
Oh, and before I act like I'm throwing shade at everyone, like as long like I'm okay with like I will say like tights being different, or like one person wants to wear long tights, one person wants to wear short tights. Because I look, classic Midnight Express did that. They had the same like rainbow strip or same stylist, but Stan Lane was always rocking the tights, and Bobby Eaton was a long pants boy, and
Hmm.
like but they still look like a team. Like
Hmm.
they had this like their gear matched even if it wasn't the same gear. Like
Hmm.
that's, and I find that if you're a team, I find that to be rather important. But
Oh yeah.
getting out of the the minutia of it all. Obviously, though, it's worked out for yourself because you got at least one championship belt on your shoulder at the time, and I imagine if you're less than three, you're only 3 years in, so I imagine this is just the beginning of tag team greatness. Should you choose to continue down this path.
Oh yeah. This won't be the last tag title I acquire. I assure that.
I did want to touch just because I do think the subculture is fascinating, but you mentioned kind of the straight edge tag team, and you are noted, in your social media profiles to be straight edge yourself. What drove you to the straight edge lifestyle?
The hangovers. So I mean, don't get me wrong. I wasn't always straight edge. I mean, back in I keep saying back in my youth, but it's true. So back in when I was younger, one of my friends and we went to Germany for October, just for Oktoberfest. Not that I was a drunk or anything, but I mean, I was not straight edge at all. So I mean, we did that. Went to Oktoberfest, and it's just sometimes after like weekends of partying or even just after a night of partying, the next day I would waste the whole day. I'd be hungover, I wouldn't feel good, didn't get good sleep, headache, I couldn't work out or do anything the following day. And I just that started getting old, and just started cutting into my I wanted to do stuff with the extra day I
Your
had. I just
life in
couldn't I
general.
couldn't work out. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it wasn't ruining my life. It wasn't that bad,
Well, no,
or
but you
yeah.
lose a day.
Yeah, yeah, and I just, so then I just started either not drinking or drinking less and I still go out with my friends, and I still have just as much fun. So that's how it just kind of snowballed. It snowballed into me, drinking, and it was just drinking actually. No, I think I never did drugs or anything. That I never did, but it was just drinking. I just once I left it, I never looked back, and now I pride myself in that. I'm very um like determined. Like whenever say I'm gonna do something or not do something, I stick to it. So
Right on. I just kind of like when a lot of people think the straight edge, they think of the hardcore punk like subculture, and and it appears like well, to continue to be the most interesting wrestler in the world. It's just more along the lines of like I'm just straight edge because I choose not to do it, not because big soapbox of morality or whatever. And I mean, but
that's
I thought
basically it.
I mean, but that I find that just to be just as valid. I mean, Lord knows, like I'll use it myself as an example because I've done that for the last 20 minutes of this here podcast. But it's one of those things, as you put it, like things like once hangovers start getting like coming into play, like it kind of cuts down on the fun, and then especially if you know now you're missing. I don't want to say you're missing out on things, but again, like if it takes a whole like a day to recuperate from just a couple hours of having fun, like is it really worth it at the end of the end of the day? Like
Yeah, it's not. And
no.
even if it's like, yeah, people, when I first started not drinking, people, oh, it's just one beer. Well, if it's just one, it's probably not gonna. I'm not even gonna get buzzed or anything. Like, what's the point? At the same time, you know. So.
Well, and I'm one of those guys is like, I don't know, like I want the drink to taste good too, and like if it can't taste good, yeah, I want it to give me that buzz because I was a nice little drunkie back in the day. But like
Mm.
if yeah, but like one beer, unless you're getting something super fancy, like eh.
Yeah, that's
But
true.
on the plus side, like I find like as a whole, culturally speaking, like it's easier to not drink than it really has ever before because we were really kind of marching into the well, we've been the whole mocktail movement that's popped up in the last handful of years, or we just kick it up old school and insert whatever monster energy drink mixture that the local coffee or well now we have whole energy shacks popping up who just do the energy drink mixers come up,
Oh,
so like and not that those are much better for us like overall, but at least we're not having the big hangovers after the fact.
yeah. Hmm.
So that being said, so when you do you go out and stuff, do you do say like the monster mixtures, or do you have a go to kind of drink that you go get?
No, so typically I don't go out anymore. That's not my scene. It hasn't been for a long time. But I don't even do like mocktails or like alcohol-free beer. Like I'm that I'm I'm like really disciplined to almost like to like a weird level. It's just kind of like self-pride at this point. Where like I try my hardest not to take even like over-the-counter meds unless I absolutely have to. If I have some sort of pain that I can't go to sleep, then I'll take a little painkiller over the counter or something. But I try not to even do that. That's how straight edge
Oh, I guess
I
I
am.
mean, there's the actual straight edge coming out right there.
Hmm.
And I should have known better than like start throwing out caffeine there because like the real hardcore ones even eschew caffeine, and that's always been my downfall. Like that's one of those like little things where I said like I can never be proper straight edge because I know there's variances, but like man, caffeine is wonderful. Caffeine is my weakness. CM Punk has
Yeah,
competition. I have caffeine.
that's yeah, I'm not caffeine free. I'll put it that way.
To kind of go along with the secondary theme, uh, given your general look with the steampunk and the fact that you are currently repping the One Ringed Circus, you know, I always I think back to wrestling venues. Like, what is the most like least unique wrestling venue that you've had the honor to work in?
I'm sorry, the most what?
U-
Unique?
unique, however you want to define unique.
The most unique venue. Hmm. Probably where One Ring Circus runs out of. It's a big brewery. It's indoor, but it's a huge like like I guess back room. But the walls are lined with barrels. If you've seen some of my footage and reels and all that, you'll see what I'm talking about. It just looks cool. It looks different. It doesn't just look like a tiny little gym or an outdoor venue parking lot. Um, it's got its own distinct look, and it matches the steampunk look too. So it's a kind of a win-win. So that's probably like I think that's like the coolest venue that I think I currently wrestle or have wrestled in.
I in my head when you start talking about that, I'm like, oh, yep, he just blends into the background at that point. I mean, not like it's camo or anything, but like it was made for you in a
Right.
way with because like I don't know, even modern breweries kind of have an old school kind of look to them just because all the stills and whatnot, are all variations of steam powered and the tubes
Hmm.
everywhere,
Yeah.
and especially the places that go fancy and actually barrel their own stuff, like
Hmm.
it has to be, dare I say, is kind of like a newbie to the culture, like a steampunk wonderland in that case.
Oh yeah, like when I set up like my it's a merch table, but in my case, it's I call it the Gunjack's Emporium. It's not just the merch table; it's the Gunjack's Emporium. So when I set it up at other places, I have like a backdrop that I either put thumbtacks or I tape up, so it looks more of a it's more elaborate, right? And at this place, I don't. It's the barrels. That's the background. That's how much it matches. I don't have to put a backdrop or anything, so it's perfect. little bit less setup.
Now you just need like a banner, like a banner just for like places like that, so you can still have just Emporium or whatnot
I
over it.
I'm actually working on that. I got it. I got the sign coming. I
There
got
we
the
go.
sign coming.
Like I say these things like they don't cost money, which is the reason like I don't have I don't have
Yeah,
banners or anything like
yeah.
that.
You actually got a little scoop here that this is the first time I'm dropping that. The Gunjack's Emporium sign is coming. You heard it here first.
There we go. But I do like that. It's one of those like little things that I do love when like wrestlers even have like their own like banners or backdrops or whatever, just because it does make them stand out. Because everyone and their mothers just has their slot at the table, and like sometimes it's cramped and you can't really get away with some of that stuff, but still like
Oh, I make
what do
it
you,
work. I mean, have you seen footage or photos floating around of the Emporium or no?
I don't believe so. I'm going to have to.
Okay,
I'm going to have to.
I'll have to send you one because it's my table. I sometimes, like I said, I have the backdrop. I have a wingback chair too, so you can like it. So my merch booth or whatever, it doubles as a photo op, like a photo booth
I was
for
about to
fans.
ask, like,
And then
do you charge and and have people sit in the chair?
no, that's more interaction for the fans. They're already paying to have a good time, so
There you go.
man, the merch ain't free. That's the thing
Oh no, no.
I'm selling. But no, the photo ops, they can sit on Gunjack, sit down, take a photo with the backdrop, and I also have a cardboard cutout standee of myself. So I haven't seen those around in the indies, so
No, I haven't. But oh,
yeah, I
so
have it's a whole thing. That's why I call it the Emporium. It's not just a merch table.
oh, here I am, half a country away, and I'm over here like salivating to like the thought of being able to like sit in the chair and whatnot.
Mm.
Ah, cursed to live in the Midwest, because living some places, quasi, forced upon me. That's the thing, I guess. I don't know.
Well, that's why I'm stuck in California too. It's a love hate with the state, but that's a whole different topic there.
So we can start burning bridges and talking about the best and worst states. I did have someone on here like, oh yeah, I've traveled the country. Country's great, except for I think it was Arkansas. He threw under the bus, like for whatever reason,
Wow.
like for whatever reason, he just never had a good experience like traveling through Arkansas and just.
That's and you traveled all 50 states?
Not all 50, but like a good
Oh,
chunk of them.
okay.
Like he was an RVer. Like he just
Hmm.
just went like, I'm unemployed and have just enough money just to take a year off. Also, his now wife also is kind of in the same boat, and they just went like, well, we hate material objects for the most part. Like, let's just go see the country for a year.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And
I
yeah,
mean,
so
if I could do that, I would, but
but yeah, so like he did like a loop. Like I can't remember like the exact like full length of the loop if he made it out
Mhm.
to both coasts or not. But but he explicitly like he loved like Montana and kind of the northern states, and he hit them up while they were warm, so he didn't have to worry
Yeah,
about
but Arkansas was the worst. So
yeah. And I can't
that's
remember
funny.
what it
That's
was.
interesting.
I can't remember what it was that like set him off on that. Like he just like, never had a good experience, and I apologize to any of my Arkansas fans, but Lord knows I slander Iowa enough, and they're actually my neighbors.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I got family in Arkansas, so it's all good. Everyone's got their own opinions.
uh, I,
I don't have an opinion really. I've never been, so
yeah, I just thought like it was random of like all the states like people usually hate. Like
yeah.
Arkansas is just not thought of at all. Like
Hmm.
it's whatever. But I just thought that was hilarious in general.
Hmm.
But anywho, but yeah, so you have a whole emporium. So if y'all are, and we'll give him a chance to plug where he's going to be in the future, so you can see the emporium in person too. But
Sure.
but we can move on. But but still like kind of on the topic of like crowds and oh, we could say brewers too. But like how different, like, and if you've noticed one, if not, it's fine too. But like, is there a big difference between like say like the crowd in those brewery shows and other locations that you've gotten the opportunity to wrestle?
Uh, how so? Like the amount of people at the
No,
shows, or like
just like
just the enthusiasm?
the vibe, or I don't know, the crowd's behavior.
Well, so the brewery that I'm talking about, those. those are like the main monthly shows. And there's not much difference between that one and the other promotion. Um, I mean, they're just wrestling fans. So right there, you can actually like wrestle, do some of the more, you know, what the casuals would find boring, like chaining and that sort of stuff. That's where it's encouraged, and they know the the product and all that. But I think the funner shows would be the ones that take place at little bars, or like at little, like sometimes we've done birthday parties, just because the crowd there is different, especially the bar shows, because you just get a bunch of drunk people that they just happen to go to the bar there, not necessarily for wrestling, but there's wrestling going on. Um, and it's just that drunk crowd is into it. They don't care what they see. They're having fun. You can mess with the crowd a little bit more than usual, and those
That,
are the fun.
I guess that's kind of like where I was fishing, because like usually like when I've gone to bar shows, like the vibe is different. But then again, like most of the bar shows I go to aren't getting them monthly. They're kind of a couple times a summer kind of thing.
Hmm. Yeah.
But just because they're wrestling just happens to be on the card. They are just there to be entertained, and wrestling is the entree of the evening. Like they I'm not gonna say they would have been just as happy with the Steel Panther cover band or whatever, but it's definitely a different kind of vibe than going to a place that sees wrestling every month, is aware of everything that's going on to the ring, and like already like has their preconceived notions of who's walking through the curtain or not.
Hmm.
And like as a fan who goes to a lot of wrestling, like those are the shows I also kind of enjoy, just because it gives that kind of an air of unpredictability to it, just
Hmm.
because you don't like they're not going to play along necessarily of like whatever like you think is going to happen, or lord knows if there's like a theme thing going on. Because I will famously point out that a bachelor party invaded a show once, and it was easy to get cheap heat by insulting jorts, because everybody was wearing jorts and wife beaters, and so you
Hmm.
didn't even have to insult the town. You just been like jorts suck, and you'd been like the loudest booze of the evening. It was great.
Oh yeah, that's what's fun about those shows. You can be, not that you don't have to be yourself, but you can be different and try different things, and see what works and what doesn't. So those shows are fun. It's funny because when I started, I would tell I would just say, I would like, oh, I never want to do a little rinky dink show at a bar, or do a little 10-year-old's birthday party, and those are some of my favorite shows that I do.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's like a combination of one. It lets you work the muscle between your ears. Not that again, like you're not thinking, you're not plotting, you're not planning, but like this is theater in the round, like, and this
Hmm.
is improv. Uh, you know, and working a crowd that's way different than what you're normally working with, like, it gives you an opportunity to just experiment or just relax for a bit. But you brought up
Yeah,
like a kid's birthday party. So have you worked like a children's birthday party?
yeah, yeah, several times.
Like, say, I don't know if I've talked to anyone who's willingly admitted that. Like, what's that
Mm.
experience like? Like doing a show for that's like almost explicitly meant for young children.
Um, okay, so those you have to work, because most of the time the parents, they don't know wrestling. All they know is that the kid likes wrestling, right? And they're fortunate enough to hire a promotion, have a ring. So the parents and then the older folks there, probably they don't really know. At least that's the majority of them. And the kids, all they know is all these crazy moves that they see on TV. So again, you can't really do the normal wrestling there. So you gotta change it up. And then the kids are really into it. I typically just, because I'm a heel, so I mess with the birthday boy. I'll, like, sometimes they have little toy belts. I'll take those from him. I'll pop balloons and throw the balloons in their face. Just whatever I can do. So it's just really fun. But the only thing is, you do have to do not crazy moves, but you got to do moves that'll make a 10-year-old excited, or however old the kid.
That's fair. I mean, like, you got to play almost got to play the superhero game. Almost, we'll call it. You gotta no, be loud, obnoxious, be a cartoon. That, that's interesting though. I think like and like it's one of those like little things. Again, pulling back the curtain, my end. Like I tried to do like a fundraiser, like when I worked residential, but it was but like we could they wouldn't. But the powers that be wouldn't hire an outside venue for this. And I'm like, we have a gymnasium, we can like do something. I'm like, yeah, our insurance doesn't actually cover that. And I'm like, oh, man, our guys would love it, like because I would take my guys out to go see wrestling, and but cursed real world problems for
especially now.
But such is life. But I kind of go ahead and like wind things down with a bit, since we've already kind of like talked about venues, the Emporium and whatnot. Where can we find you and your Emporium in the next couple of weeks, and where can we find you online if we can't see you in person?
Okay, so online, I'm only on YouTube and Instagram, both at I am Gunjack with periods instead of spaces, but you can just put the I am Gunjack. It usually pops up. So at I am Gunjack. And then monthly, you'll find me down in Vista in Southern California with SoCal Pro Wrestling, and then down in San Diego at the L. Smith Brewing Company. That's for One Ring Circuit. So those are monthly shows. I don't always have a schedule on my Instagram, but I always have promos promoting said show, and I do promos unlike most of the guys. I'll put it that way. I think in 2 weeks from this Friday, we're going to be my main promotion, SoCal Pro Wrestling. We're going to be at the San Diego County Fair, where we're going back there. It's been, I think, about 6 or 7 years since the fair hosted wrestling, so we're bringing it back. So I'll be at the San Diego County Fair June 19th. That's a Friday, I believe. So anyone in Southern California that want to check out the Straight Edge Order and all the other great talent that we have, it's going to be a whole day of things. I think we're going to have 3 rings. So that's going to be a big show.
Wow. I do love me a good fair, and now I'm intrigued. 3 wings, and like, I'm already just lamenting the fact that I'm out here. But if I am doing my due diligence as podcast host, I will have the links or to copy and paste on the descriptor of the episode. But Gunjack, thank you for coming on and chatting with me for a bit. It has been a blast to talk to you, man.
Sure, thanks for having me on.
The Confusion Wrestling Podcast is a weekly podcast that is written and performed by Rob Kammer and hosted by Spotify for podcasters. The background music for this section is Ruined by Day, performed by Alan Schroeder. If you enjoyed this podcast and would like to help support, please like, subscribe, and tell your friends, family, and enemies. Leaving a review is helpful as well, because word-of-mouth advertisement is very important for us small podcasts. My social media links can be found in the description, but Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky are at The Nova of Cass. That's TheNovaofCass, and Facebook is MLW Confusion, all one word. If you'd like to support monetarily and help upgrade my equipment, please check out my virtual tip jar at ko-fi.com/Casanova, or if you prefer more bang for your buck, go to patreon.com/Casanova, that's CASSONOVA, where for as little as $2, backers get access to the podcast early and without those pesky ads, plus other exclusive content. So join the crew that is headed up by Keith Wynn, Alan Schroeder, Chris Zach, and Elenia, and check it out. You can also find t-shirts, coffee mugs, and other merch at the Confusion Podcast store on Teespring. Also, be sure to check out the affiliate links in the descriptor below. For business inquiries such as ads, sponsorships, and etc., please email rzkamer, Kamerer, at comcast.net. Thank you all for listening.